I never imagined my life would come to this. Hanging upside down, bound by a rope tied to the ceiling, my heart pounding with terror. My husband's cold smile as he shaved my head told me everything I needed to know. He had no mercy left, and I was truly trapped. In that moment, I knew that if I didn't escape, both my life and my child's would be lost, and I had to find a way out, no matter the cost. My name is Nora, and I'm 30 years old. I work as an office assistant in Portland, Oregon, and if you'd asked me a year ago where I thought I'd be today, I wouldn't have been able to answer. Life has a funny way of throwing curveballs, and I've learned that the hard way. I'm not proud of everything that's happened, but I think it's important to share my story, even the dark parts, because I want to remind myself that I survived. It all started 7 months ago, after I ended a relationship that I thought would last forever. I had been with Tony for almost 3 years, and I thought he was the one. We talked about everything: marriage, kids, the future, but somewhere along the way, I lost myself in the relationship. When he left, I was devastated. I felt like I was floating, untethered, with raw emotions that I didn't know how to handle. I threw myself into work, but it didn't help. Nothing helped. Then there was my grandmother, Emma. She's been a constant presence in my life. She helped raise me, and we've always been close. But recently, her health had been slipping. Parkinson's disease, they said. It wasn't just the tremors or the stiff movements. It was her mind. It was like watching someone slowly fade away, piece by piece. Taking care of her wasn't easy. It meant early mornings and late nights. I loved her dearly, but there were days when I was just so tired. I was alone in it. I didn't want to burden anyone else with my struggles, but it was becoming too much to carry. That's when Lucy stepped in. Lucy's my best friend, and we've known each other since we were kids. She's a nurse, and when she saw how overwhelmed I was, she didn't hesitate. "Nora, you need help, professional help," she said one evening when she came over to check on me. I remember exactly how she looked as she said it, her brows furrowed with worry, arms crossed. "You're not okay, and you can't keep pretending you are." I wasn't sure. I mean, how could anyone else understand? But Lucy was right. I was at a breaking point, and I couldn't keep it together much longer. She suggested I see someone. "I know a good doctor, Dr. Max. He's been treating your grandma for a while. Maybe he can help you too." I agreed hesitantly. I wasn't sure about talking to a stranger, but Lucy's insistence made me think maybe I didn't have a choice. The following week, I met with Dr. Max. He was in his early 50s, well respected in his field, and had a kind demeanor. The first thing that struck me was how calm he was. He had a soft, soothing voice that made everything feel less overwhelming. His office was inviting, filled with soft lighting and calm decor, creating an atmosphere that put me at ease. "So, Nora," he said, sitting across from me on a chair, "what brings you here today?" I remember how hard it was to even get the words out. My chest felt tight, and I could barely breathe, but somehow Dr. Max's calm presence allowed me to speak. "I don't know where to start," I said, shaking my head. "Everything just feels off. My grandmother, Tony, I just feel lost, like I don't know who I am anymore." He nodded, listening intently, his eyes filled with compassion. "It sounds like you're carrying a lot, and it's perfectly okay to seek help with that. We can work through this together." I didn't know it then, but that meeting marked the start of something that would change my life for better and for worse. I began seeing Dr. Max regularly, and over time, I started to feel like I could breathe again. He wasn't just a doctor, he was a source of support. Talking to him felt like unloading a burden I had carried for too long. I began feeling more like myself, and for the first time in months, I started thinking that maybe things would get better. Dr. Max was always there, patient and understanding. As the weeks passed, he offered not just professional guidance, but personal support as well. He'd ask about my grandmother, my job, how I was coping. It didn't feel like therapy anymore. It felt like a friendship. I found myself looking forward to our meetings, even though they were often difficult at first. It felt good to talk to someone who genuinely cared about my well-being. Then, about a year into my sessions, Dr. Max invited me to dinner. He said it was to catch up outside the office to discuss my progress. I hesitated, feeling that it was a bit strange for a doctor to invite me out, but I decided to go. We met at a nice restaurant downtown, and I remember how comfortable I felt with him. Over dinner, we talked about everything: work, family, life in general. It didn't feel like a therapy session anymore. It felt like two people getting to know each other. He made me laugh, and I realized that I hadn't laughed in a long time. After that dinner, things started to change between us. I don't think either of us planned it, but our connection deepened. We started seeing each other outside of our usual sessions, and before long, I realized that I had developed feelings for him. He was kind, caring, and everything I thought I needed. He told me that he had feelings for me too, and when he asked me to marry him, I didn't hesitate. For the first time in a long time, I believed my life was turning around, that I had finally found happiness. Little did I know, I was about to step into something I couldn't escape, something that would change everything. But that's a story for another time, and believe me, it's one I never saw coming. I guess I should have known something was off. Looking back, it's so clear, but at the time, I was blinded by love and relief. When you've been through so much, it's easy to fall for the first person who makes you feel seen again. Dr. Max, or Max, as I came to call him, seemed to be everything I needed. He understood me in ways that no one else did, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I mattered. We got married after a whirlwind romance. I never expected to meet someone like him, especially after everything I'd been through. The wedding was small but beautiful. My grandmother, Emma, was there, though I could see the disease taking its toll on her more than ever that day. Parkinson's had a firm hold on her, but she still managed to smile, and it meant the world to me that she could be there. The first few months after the wedding were blissful. I felt like I had finally found balance. I still took care of Emma, but Max was always there, offering support. I truly believed that I had found someone who cared about me, who loved me. But as time passed, the cracks began to show, slowly at first, but enough to make me uneasy. It started with small things. At first, he would ask me to stay home more, telling me I didn't need to work. "You're stressed enough with your grandmother, Nora," he'd say. "Let me take care of you. You deserve to relax." I was hesitant at first, but he kept reassuring me that it was for the best. He said it would give me more time to care for Emma and that I didn't need the added pressure of a job. I agreed, thinking, what harm could it do? But soon it became a routine. I'd wake up, stay home, make him breakfast, clean the house, and wait for him to come home. What started as a nice change soon turned into isolation. Max began making comments about my friends, especially Lucy. "Do you really need to see her so often?" he'd ask. "She doesn't understand you like I do." And when I pushed back, he'd get frustrated. "I'm just looking out for you, Nora. You don't need to go out with her all the time. She's not good for you." I tried to explain that Lucy was my best friend, someone who had been there for me long before him, but the more I defended my friendships, the more controlling he became. It wasn't just Lucy. He started monitoring my phone and my emails, watching my every move. If I laughed at a text, he'd ask who I was talking to. If I spent too long on the phone, he'd demand to know why. What once felt like protectiveness turned into something suffocating. I told myself I was overreacting, that maybe it was just his way of being caring. But in my heart, I knew something wasn't right. I felt trapped, like I had no freedom to make even the smallest decisions for myself. Then it got worse, much worse. One night, after a minor disagreement, Max locked me in a small storage room in our house. I had no idea what had set him off, but it didn't matter. All I knew was that he was furious, his eyes wild with rage. "You need to learn your place," he spat as he shoved me into the dark, cold room. The door slammed shut behind me, and I heard the sound of the lock turning. My heart began to race. It was dark in there, too dark for my liking. I felt the walls closing in around me. I don't know how long I was in there, maybe minutes, maybe hours. Time didn't seem to matter. All that mattered was the suffocating feeling in my chest and the fear I couldn't shake. And the worst part? I could hear him on the other side of the door, laughing. That night was the first time I truly realized how far Max had gone. This wasn't just controlling behavior, this was something else, something darker. When he finally let me out, I was too shaken to say anything. He apologized, of course, but the apology felt hollow. I didn't believe him anymore. I didn't know who he was. It felt like the man I had married had disappeared, replaced by someone I didn't recognize, someone I feared. But the worst was yet to come. The week after that terrifying night, I discovered I was pregnant. I didn't know whether to feel relief or fear, a life growing inside me, a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. I thought, maybe, just maybe, this could be the thing to soften Max, to bring him back to the man I once thought I knew. When I told him the news that evening, hoping for a loving reaction, his face twisted in disgust. "A baby?" he sneered. "You're going to keep it?" "Yes, Max. This is our child," I said, my voice trembling. "I want to be a mother." His face grew colder, his eyes narrowing. Without a word, he turned and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. In that moment, I felt the last threads of hope slipping away. I realized then that I wasn't just dealing with a controlling husband. I was dealing with someone who would go to frightening lengths to maintain his control. The following days were a blur of fear and confusion. Max's mood was colder, his words sharper. He began avoiding me, but the moments we did cross paths were filled with tension. Then, one night, after a heated argument where he demanded I get rid of the baby, everything spiraled out of control. "You're not keeping that child, Nora," he hissed, his voice full of venom. "It will ruin everything we've built. You need to get rid of it." "No, Max," I said, trying to stand my ground, even though fear clawed at my insides. "This is our child, and I am keeping it. I won't give in to your demands." My refusal pushed him over the edge. In a blinding fury, he grabbed a rope, his face contorted with anger. Before I could process what was happening, he wrapped the rope around my wrists and tied them tightly. "If you won't listen, maybe this will make you understand," he spat, his voice a chilling whisper. Ignoring my pleas, he hoisted me up, suspending me from the ceiling, leaving me hanging upside down. I felt the blood rush to my head, and my vision blurred. But the worst was yet to come. He circled around me with a twisted smile, holding a pair of clippers. In a horrifying moment, he began to shave my head, strand by strand, stripping away any shred of dignity I had left. "I'll teach you who's in control," he sneered, his voice dripping with malice. Hanging there, helpless, I felt my spirit breaking. But somewhere deep within, a spark of determination flared. I told myself I had to survive this, for my baby, for myself. I could not let him take everything from me. When he finally left, I was too weak to move, too shaken to cry. But that spark of determination remained. I knew then that I couldn't stay. I had to find a way out of this nightmare. The next morning, after Max left for work, I knew this was my chance. I reached out to my cousin Mike, a private investigator and someone I had always trusted. My hands shook as I texted him, explaining everything as briefly as I could. Moments later, my phone rang. "Nora, what's going on?" Mike's voice was filled with concern. I took a deep breath, feeling a rush of relief just hearing his voice. "It's Max, Mike. He's not who I thought he was. He's controlling, abusive. Last night, My voice caught, but I forced myself to continue. "He tied me up and shaved my head. He wants me to get rid of the baby." There was a long pause, and I could feel Mike's shock over the line. "Nora, you need to get out of there. This isn't safe. I'll help you. We'll get you out." With Mike's support, I began a plan to escape. He guided me on how to gather evidence of Max's abuse. Over the following days, I quietly recorded his rants, captured photos of my bruises, and documented everything I could. Every piece of evidence became a small but significant step toward freedom. Max's controlling behavior only intensified as he sensed something shifting. He monitored my movements more closely, his eyes constantly watching, filled with suspicion. But I played along, pretending to be compliant, even as my resolve grew stronger. One evening, when Max's anger flared again, I discreetly recorded the entire interaction, his voice filled with venom as he threatened me. "You think you can leave me, Nora," he snarled. "You're nothing without me. You'd be helpless out there." His words only fueled my determination. Finally, with Mike's help, we had enough evidence to make a move. Mike reached out to the police, providing them with all the evidence we had gathered. The plan was set. The morning everything changed felt like a blur. I woke up feeling both terrified and hopeful. I knew the plan. Once Max left for work, Mike and the police would arrive, armed with everything they needed to arrest him and get me to safety. But there was a new tension in the air. I could sense that Max felt something was different, and I braced myself, fearing he might notice my own resolve. Just as he was about to leave, he turned to me with an intense, calculating stare. "You seem different today, Nora," he murmured, his voice low and menacing. My heart raced, but I forced myself to stay calm, giving him a hollow smile and nodding. "I'm just trying to make things easier, like you wanted," I replied, hoping to keep his suspicions at bay. After what felt like an eternity, he finally left, slamming the door behind him. The moment I heard his car pull away, I grabbed my phone and texted Mike. "He's gone. I'm ready." Within minutes, Mike arrived with the police. The officers moved swiftly, checking every corner of the house, ensuring that they had everything they needed. It was only a matter of time now. I waited with bated breath, feeling the weight of the past months begin to lift, even as fear lingered. The officers stationed themselves discreetly, ready to arrest Max the moment he returned. My hands trembled as I waited, replaying every horrible memory in my mind, grounding myself in the knowledge that this nightmare was finally ending. Late in the afternoon, Max came home. The second he stepped through the door, he froze, spotting the officers. His expression shifted from shock to rage in an instant. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice a mix of fury and disbelief. One of the officers stepped forward, his tone calm but firm. "Max, you're under arrest for multiple counts of abuse and unlawful imprisonment." Max's face contorted in anger as they handcuffed him, his eyes locked on me, filled with hatred. "You think this changes anything, Nora?" he sneered. "You're nothing without me." But I held my ground, refusing to look away. "I'm free of you, Max. You don't control me anymore." Watching him being led away in handcuffs felt surreal. The man who once vowed to love and protect me was now the one being taken away, a monster unmasked. For the first time in months, I felt the weight of his control lift, replaced by a sense of relief and freedom. With Max behind bars, I began to rebuild my life. I moved back into my old apartment, a modest space, but one that felt like a sanctuary. Each day, I took small steps toward reclaiming the life I had lost, focusing on my health and the life growing inside me. The process wasn't easy. Some nights, memories of Max's cruelty haunted me, but I reminded myself of the strength it took to escape. A few months later, I gave birth to my daughter, a beautiful reminder of resilience and hope. Holding her in my arms felt like finally stepping out of a long, dark tunnel into the warmth of the sun. She became my motivation to keep moving forward, to build a life free of fear and filled with love. Meanwhile, the legal battle against Max unfolded in court. With the overwhelming evidence Mike and I had collected, there was no escape for him. Witnesses testified, including my cousin Mike and even Lucy, who described the drastic changes she had seen in me after marrying him. The recordings, photos, and witness accounts painted a vivid picture of Max's abuse. After weeks of testimony, the judge handed down his sentence. Max received a lengthy prison term, punished not only for the abuse he inflicted on me, but for the violation of trust and cruelty he had shown. His sentence included mandatory therapy and a substantial fine, which I received as part of a settlement, $300,000, a sum that symbolized the freedom and security I was determined to create for myself and my daughter. Now, as I watch my daughter grow, I find joy in the simplest moments. Every smile, every laugh reminds me of the strength it took to reach this point. The scars of my past haven't disappeared, but they no longer define me. I am Nora, a survivor, and I'm finally free. The journey was long, and the pain was real, but I emerged stronger, with a future filled with hope. My story serves as a reminder that even in the darkest times, there's always a way forward. And now, every day, I look at my daughter and feel grateful for our freedom, our resilience, and the life we've built. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, please give this video a thumbs up. Your likes really help us reach more people who love stories just like you do. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a new story as soon as it's posted. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment down below to share your thoughts on this story or to tell us what kinds of stories you'd like to see in the future. Your feedback helps us keep creating the content you enjoy the most. Thanks again for watching and welcome to our community. See you in the next story.